Hello there, Star Wars fans. Thank you for tuning in to your favorite intergalactic frequency, Outer Rim Transmissions. Welcome back to another breakdown of Star Wars Skeleton Crew. Episode 5. You have a lot to learn about pirates. This episode was incredibly fun. More entertaining than the previous episode in my eyes, that's for sure. And has me speculating very much about what's to come next. But before we continue, please like the video and subscribe to the channel. This will really help the channel and also make sure that you never miss what's happening in your favorite galaxy far, far away. We start this episode back on At Attin with the parents again. We see Wendell, Wim's dad, at his desk. My first thought was, why is he working? His child's missing. How can he be working during a time like this? Seeing this has strengthened my theory that At Attin is more dystopian than utopian. This planet is run like a machine, like a droid, not skipping a beat and unwavering in its resolve. Since the beginning, we've had instances where the adults have all been saying how busy they are and are very absent overall from the rest of the society because they are all hard at work. When I first saw this workspace, I immediately thought of the New Republic office space we saw in Mando Season 3, Episode 3. This also looks like the Bureau of Standards from Andor. Both of these look like updated versions of At Attin's design, which makes sense since At Attin is trapped in an older version of the Republic. But despite being at work, it becomes clear that work is not on Wendell's mind. With the help of Neil's mom, they both are covertly trying to find a way to send a message past the barrier. However, Wendell gets caught up by one of the security droids. The droid sensed a surge in energy from Wendell's station. So wow, these droids really are monitoring everyone and everywhere closely. Again, this planet is more of a dystopia than a utopia in my eyes, and now the parents are starting to see that. Luckily, Wendell gets reported to Undersecretary Farah instead of the supervisor. She doesn't think he's going about this the right way. She wants to go through the proper channels, as she says, but I think her outlook on this will change. It seems Wim's dad somewhat convinces her they have to do this on their own. We then check back in with the kids. SM-33 is tied down in case he still reacts the same way he did on At Attin. He then explains that what happened was part of his programming from his old captain, who we finally learn the name, Captain Rennod. This immediately turns on a light bulb in Jod's head. He now realizes the ship he's on, the Onyx Cinder, and the seriousness of who SM-33's captain was. Captain Rennod was one of the biggest pirates during his time a few centuries ago. Jod knows of him. I'm assuming many of the other pirates know, and I'm assuming this is how SM-33 knew the coordinates for Port Borgo and why the defense system didn't attack the ship. Pirates know the legend of Captain Rennod and his pursuit of At Attin. And now we have a lot more information as to how he disappeared. SM-33 explains what caused the ship to crash and how the crew died. There was a mutiny on board, led by the first mate. Renard, however, made sure to get the last laugh. Renard purposefully crashed the ship, killing the crew and seemingly himself. But I don't think this is the whole story. I think there's still much more to learn about what happened, and much more to the captain's journey on At Attin. SM-33 tells the kids that the coordinates are in Captain Rennod's lair on Skull Ridge Mountain. SM-33's description of the lair compared to what we actually see can help us piece together the puzzle of when Captain Rennod roamed the galaxy and roughly when the ship crashed on At Attin. Nothing he describes is what we see. The planet, now called Lupa, is no longer a danger-stricken, mountainous death trap that's feared by those who dare venture there. It's now a resort and spa for the elite and high-class members of the galaxy. No longer a feared planet, Lupa's neutral. When I saw the type of clientele, I thought of Canto Bight from The Last Jedi. Extremely affluent people that live well beyond the average person's needs. I mean, we got a nod to some previous known elite, such as the banking clan who are in attendance for an economic summit. The banking clan are traditionally all moons, and are some of the most wealthy and upper echelon elite in the galaxy, since they run all the banking. This is the same species as the infamous Darth Plagueis, also known as Hego Damask, a high-ranking member of the banking clan during his time. We also get a reference to one of the moon's important planets, Scipio, which we saw in Star Wars The Clone Wars. This planet is the headquarters for the intergalactic banking clan, and close to the moon's homeworld of Moonalists. But back to SM-33. I think this recollection of Skull Ridge Mountain points to him being gone for a few centuries. Even his comment a few episodes ago about Aldhani being a sulfurous bog world shows how much the galaxy has changed since he roamed it. 100 to 200 years is all it takes for real change to form and for places to be unrecognizable. So I think Captain Rennod was around 100 to 200 years ago, and what we'll see later will strengthen my hypothesis. And speaking of my hypothesis, Jod's conversation with Wim before they landed, I think is proving my theory that Jod's mother was a Jedi, and he lost her early on. Wim's crying because this adventure is not what he thought an adventure would be like. Like I mentioned after episode 4, Wim realized that adventures aren't all fun. They're scary, and he's not ready to take this all on. Jod at first brushes this all off, until Wim mentions he won't ever see his mom again. Jod stops in his tracks, and then continues to talk to Wim. And this is where we learn so much about Jod, or at least I think we do. Jod starts to talk like a Jedi, and gives his version of the Jedi no attachment rule, like when Yoda spoke to Anakin in Revenge of the Sith. And watching this, I thought, he had to have learned this from the Jedi, or maybe a Jedi. It seems that this conversation around mothers pulled Jod in, so again, I think Jod's mother, Nina Nalwood, was a Jedi and maybe loosely trained him in the Jedi arts, before she was killed or taken. Jod uses some of these Jedi teachings, but I think he takes the no attachment rule to the extreme, as a way to avoid the pain from the past. Using his abilities in the Force and somewhat extreme view of no attachments, this allowed him to become a smuggler, and even a bounty hunter from what we find out later on. So saying he was never a Jedi might be wrong, but not being trained on Coruscant might be right. He even quotes Qui-Gon Jinn here, when he says, "Your focus determines your reality." Like I mentioned in previous breakdowns, he knows many Jedi-like things, but doesn't present them in a traditional Jedi way. His way of doing this is very counter to how Baylan's school discusses Jedi lessons. Despite being someone who had lost faith in the Order after Order 66, someone who also has been lost for some time, Jod must have learned these lessons from his mom, and he seems to have disdain for them, but also lives by them. There's so much more to Jod that we still don't know. I'm excited to learn more in episode 7. And to stay on topic of Jod, we also learn he has many more names. This time we learn of the names Jodwig Zank and Dash Zinton from his bounty hunter days. At first I thought no way they're going to make him Dash Rinder, and thankfully they didn't. The female bounty hunter named Pocket, who recognizes Dash, does eventually alert the pirates and Captain Brutus of his location, so now the clock is ticking. As the crew searches the spa, there are really two things I think are worth mentioning. One is we see one of the huts. Based on the tattoo, it looks like one of the twins we saw from the Book of Boba Fett. The second thing are the Sith runes on the walls in the spa. Runes that look like they've been there for quite some time, most likely before Captain Rennod. These are written in Urk-Katat, or also called the Old Tongue. This was the language adopted by the Sith, as the language originates even before the Jedi Order, but also utilized for the dark side. And reminder, the use of this language has been forbidden for a long time now. Even in the future, in The Rise of Skywalker, C-3PO can't speak it unless his restrictions are overwritten. So why is this here? There could be a chance that a long time ago, there was a Sith temple, or a planet of the Sith of old, a place of dark side Force energy, maybe a nexus at one point. I see some online saying this could connect to what they're doing with pirates in the High Republic era, more specifically the Nihil. The Nihil are vicious pirates from the High Republic era. They fought back against the Republic in their Great Works. The Great Works during the High Republic saw the Republic pushing expansion out towards the Outer Rim. The Nihil gave the Republic a run for their money. They also were known to come across the Jedi many times and even utilize Sith hideouts, places encompassing the dark side. This takes place about 200 years before the Phantom Menace. I think this is potentially a clue to when Captain Rennod was alive. We see later on in his lair that he has a lightsaber in there. This lightsaber has a very particular look. This is what a lightsaber from the end of the High Republic era would have looked like. So, this is what I think. I think this is showing us that Captain Rennod lived 200 years ago. He was once part of or connected to the Nihil. He utilized Sith hideouts for his bases and fought against Jedi as well. But his quest for endless treasure on At Attin pulled him away from fighting against the Great Works. I don't think there will be much more about the Sith carvings and their relation to Captain Rennod going forward. I'm sure this is a nice nod to the High Republic era, and just the acknowledgement of the Sith, maybe something that'll be expanded on one day. But lastly, what's important is what we find out in Captain Rennod's lair. The first thing is that we finally get the coordinates to At Attin. Held in his databank, the coordinates are revealed, but despite the kids obtaining what they've been after, we learn something even more important about At Attin. In the hologram of Captain Rennod, we can somewhat confirm why At Attin is believed to hold endless treasure, and this would prove my theory as well. And that is the credits on At Attin are the treasure. And what makes At Attin so special is that it's the last of the once 9 Old Republic mints. This is where they literally create money, or as people say, print money in our world. An endless supply of mint Old Republic credits that can be constantly produced. And now it makes more sense why the jewels of the Old Republic were hidden. They would have been prime targets for many villainous actors throughout the galaxy. Access to that type of financial resource would almost allow anyone to have almost unlimited wealth. While the planets were hidden to keep thieves out, I think they were also hidden to keep their citizens in the dark. Keeping the planets secluded didn't allow their citizens to learn of the immense value the credits they produced held. I think this was also to limit greed from its own population. Therefore, having their societies run so strictly and making their lives comfortable is all meant to keep them away from sabotaging their own mint production or allowing thieves in. And finally, Jod turned on the kids, something I think we all saw coming. It wasn't a matter of if, but when. And just like everyone's been telling the kids throughout, don't trust him. So I wasn't surprised, and I think by the end of episode 7 he'll probably realize he cares more for the kids than he thought, and help them get home. Well, that's all for today from your favorite galaxy far, far away. What'd you think of the episode? Did you like it? What do you think about my theories? Let me know if I missed something. Comment down below and let's discuss. Please don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel, and thanks for watching. Until next time, may the Force be with you, always.